Okay, welcome to part three of computer hardware. And we were talking about troubleshooting hardware issues. One of the more common ones that you might run into is external drive doesn't get recognized. I would listen very closely to that hard drive and see if it's running at all. It may be plugged in, but if it's not running, it's not going to recognize it. And then there's always the port issue again. Program apps does not run. Okay. Windows 10 is notorious for not allowing certain programs to run when you first plug in the device, especially if it's an older device. It was designed for a different operating system. So you want to make sure that before you purchase that item, that you have thoroughly understand and read the package to let you know whether it needed a certain operating system in order to run. And of course, there's always viruses and malware out there that's going to slow down the performance of your machine or maybe even stop it. Or sometimes there can be screen damage. Let's say that it's a touch screen and you dropped it, or you may have bumped it or hit it with something. That's going to cause you some issues. And if your touch screen is unresponsive, that's going to give you some issues also if you happen to have dropped it. Could be a laptop that you're trying to troubleshoot. Liquid damage is probably one of the more famous ones. Things get spilled. That's why they ask that you do not put liquids next to your keyboards. That's probably the number one item that gets picks up liquid, unless you were in some type of flood, and then that might be the issue. Wireless network issues. Wireless networks, if it's, let's say that you are getting the wireless, however, you're not getting out to the internet, you need to check to see if your router is working properly. Bluetooth issues. Sometimes there's a clash between the ports because you have more than one Bluetooth item. Mobile phone reception. You could be in one of those dark hole spots that doesn't transmit well. They're doing better by putting up more towers, but we don't know what that microwave is doing to the plant life around it. And then there's always a print issue. Printer issues can stem everywhere from not printing exactly what it is that you told it to print to it not being able to process the paper. It jams up. So for that, something like that, you're going to have to take it to the shop. There are little things that you can do, but that's for a more advanced troubleshooter who's worked with it. Regular maintenance is your best friend. Clean display with a damp cloth. Clean the keyboard with compressed air. Keep air vents free of dust and debris. Be surprised, desktop computer acts just like a vacuum cleaner. If it's sitting on the floor, it's going to suck up every bit of dust it can, and it's going to suck it inside, which is going to cause the machine to overheat, and that alone is going to cause you other issues. So the cleaner you can keep it, every now and then when you're vacuuming, make sure you take the hose off and vacuum around the input for air, and that will help to preserve your machine to last a lot longer. Keep your environment temperature controlled. If you've had your PC inside of a box running all the time, don't take it back out and say, oh, you know what, I'm going to give it more air, because it will probably fry out on you. Okay. Because it's gotten used to being in a certain kind of atmosphere. And if you do that, or the opposite, let's say you decide to put it inside of a box and it's been running fine, nice with nice clear air just running through it, and you decide to box it up and run it, it will overheat and it will fry out on you. Some of the regular maintenance that you can do is protect from power fluctuations. Put a power supply on it. Okay. uninterruptible power supply, or UPS. If you have real issues, put a surge protector on it. Okay, surge protectors will keep it from frying out when there's a lightning storm, things of that sort. Okay, but the power supply is probably your best friend. If you should lose power, it's going to provide power to your unit so that way you can have a logical shutdown, which means that you're going to shut it down, but now you don't have to worry about it taking a hit from a lightning strike or anything like that. Keep free space on the hard drive. Don't fill it up so much that you can't maneuver files around. If you got to close one program to be able to open another program, your hard drive's full. You need to look for other ways to save that information, perhaps the cloud. Keep away from clutter and dust. If you know that you're in a dusty environment, don't bring your desktop into a dusty environment. It's not going to like it. Regularly back up your data. I tend to back mine up on external drives so that way I know that I'll always have it, because nothing hurts worse, and I'm talking from experience, from having your system decide to crash out and you didn't have a backup of it. Now you have to reload everything from the start, and you have to figure out whether or not where you put those actual disks. Use protective cases for media. All right. So if you have, let's say that you have some CDs or some DVDs that you're working with, put them back in the case. Don't just let them sit around. That can be bad news. Restoring operating systems. Let's say that you load an application on your PC, okay, and you do the backup, and it just went haywire. Your system doesn't work right. There's craziness that's happening with it. You can always go back to the last restore point, and that's going to ask for the backup files. Once you have that, you can restore it to just before you install that new device that you were putting in that was going to be the latest, greatest, and it will ignore everything that it saw before and go back to how it was operating before that time. So that's always a good thing. So put in a restore point. Anytime you add new software, put in a restore point. And that way, if the software acts up or the device acts up or your machine goes crazy, you can always restore it to what it was like before you put that in. And display issues. Some of the display issues that you can run across is ensuring that the monitor is properly connected. Surprise. Try the monitor on different sides to isolate. If you have more than one, if you have more than one monitor, like I do, if one starts to act strangely, the first thing I'm going to do is swap the cables around to see if the problem travels over to the other side. If it does, then I know that the problem is with the PC and not with the monitors. Try different power video cables. Okay. Sometimes cables get old, they get crushed, they get pinched. You want to check to make sure that they're up to speed. Look at them, see if they've been ran over by something. Update your drivers. I'm gonna be honest with you. When it comes to updating drivers, you want to be careful with that. If everything has been working fine, if you update the driver and you haven't put in a restore point, you need to, because it could act very squirrely after that. If it's been working fine, why fix it? Okay. But if it's something that supposedly is going to fix an issue for you, then yeah, you want to go ahead and do that. But put in a restore point before that. All right. That's going to end us for part three of this of the hardware side of the house. I want to thank you for your time, and we'll see you in chapter no in module 4.